Are you a self-employed sole proprietor or freelance worker just trying to keep better track of your business's finances? Are you concerned you might not be getting all of the tax benefits out of your small business? Then stay tuned today while we talk about how you can take advantage of QuickBooks Self-Employed to rest assured that you have all of your records in order come tax time. It is a great day to be in business. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Jason Heller. As a lifelong entrepreneur, small business owner, and corporate trainer, I have a passion for business operations, technology, and processes that help me use my time more efficiently. On this channel, I hope to share that passion to help other small business owners improve their bottom line through cost-saving tutorials and efficiency-boosting product reviews. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're looking for more content designed to help you be more in touch with your business, because at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line. Today, we're continuing on our series talking about QuickBooks Online that's designed to help you get a better picture on your business's finances. I am certified as a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, and I'm also a QuickBooks Ambassador, and I hope this content can really help simplify your daily practices. If you're not sure if QuickBooks Self-Employed is the right version for you, be sure to check out my video linked above there for an overview of all the different versions of QuickBooks Online that are available right now to learn what is best suited for you. So let's dive into the basics of QuickBooks Self-Employed. And if you decide you want to give QuickBooks Online a try for yourself, there's a link down in the description box with an exclusive discount for you. So as mentioned in the overview video, QuickBooks Self-Employed is essentially a light version of QuickBooks Online designed specifically for sole proprietor or freelance type businesses with no employees. So you can do a lot for that type of a business right in QuickBooks Self-Employed. With just a single checking account, you can use QuickBooks Self-Employed to separate out your business-related income and expenses easily and cleanly. There's also an accompanying mobile app that allows you to not only track your business-related mileage, but also to capture and organize all of your business receipts right while you're on the go. Of course, you also have the ability to send invoices and accept payment right from your customers using QuickBooks Self-Employed. So why don't we jump into this demo account here and take a tour and see how QuickBooks Online works in action. So when you first set up your QuickBooks Online and log in, you'll be here in this home screen, this dashboard that we have right here. And there's a bunch of information you can get right from this dashboard, both on the desktop and the mobile version. So on the left sidebar, you'll see that this remains consistent throughout almost all the screens in QuickBooks Self-Employed. You have the link that we're in right now to bring you back to your home screen dashboard. Along the top of the home dashboard, you'll see first your estimated quarterly taxes, which is a great function of QuickBooks Self-Employed. As your income and expenses are being calculated and organized for you, QuickBooks is always updating your estimated quarterly taxes and giving you a reminder right at the top of this home screen, so you always know what's coming due, when it's due, help you avoid some of those late fees. Some other things we'll explore a little bit later, including the settings cog, the help menu, and the QuickBooks Assistant. Let's look at some other things on the dashboard before we dive into settings. So if you're just setting up your QuickBooks Self-Employed account, at the top of this dashboard, there'll be some tips for things that you should get set up to make it work the best way that it can for you and your business. So you can see this is prompting us to download the mobile app, to complete our tax profile, which we'll show you in just a moment, and then to review some transactions that have downloaded from our linked accounts. This shows us a quick snapshot of the tax savings that we have this year from deductions. So a little bit further down, you see we have some tiles to give you more information about your business. The first tile on the left there, the Discover More tile, is essentially some advertising that's getting pushed to us from Intuit and QuickBooks, in this case about health insurance for a sole proprietor or freelance small business owner. The next couple tiles give you a quick look at where your business is right now in terms of profit as well as expenses. These tiles let you choose the time period you want to look at. So right now we're looking at our profit for this entire year, but maybe we want to jump down and look at just this month or the last 3 months or last month. So it gives us a quick view, a quick way to change and take a look at that data for whatever time period we want. So we have profit and loss and then some expenses there. Down the next row down, the accounts tile is giving you information about your connected accounts. So QuickBooks Self-Employed allows you to connect bank accounts, PayPal, Square, credit cards, and then it will auto-import transactions from those accounts right into the transactions screen, which we're going to go to in just a few minutes. The next tile over there, our invoices tile, shows us any outstanding invoices we have out to our customers. Then we also have the option to choose the checkbox and look at paid invoices as well and create an invoice right from here. Next up is our mileage tracker to show us the number of business miles we've driven for the selected time period and the amount of the deduction that earns us. And then in this view, the bottom tile we have here is our estimated taxes for the year. So a lot of information right on the dashboard. So of course, the first thing you're going to want to do once you set up your new account is to go into the settings and make sure that everything's set for your personal situation. So there's 3 little areas right here, 3 sections that we want to make sure we have set up: transactions, taxes, and then about us. In the transaction section, the first choice down is bank accounts. This is where we can link all of our accounts that we want to grab data from using QuickBooks. So as I mentioned earlier, we can do bank accounts, credit cards, point of sale systems like Square. If you have a PayPal account for your business, we can link all of those. We can choose to show them on our dashboard. And this is where we would do that. We can connect another account by clicking the big button at the top, and that would allow us to add all of our accounts into QuickBooks, which is really where we want to start. That's where the power of QuickBooks Self-Employed comes from, is the ability to pull in all of those transactions. The next button down in settings, imports, is showing us the import status of our transactions. Of course, this is a demo account. So in this case, it's showing that we've started downloading these transactions in December of 2018. This also gives us the option to import transactions from a CSV file or a spreadsheet from a financial institution that maybe doesn't support the direct import into QuickBooks. So the next thing we want to take a look at in our settings is rules. So rules are great because they allow you to create rules to predefine transactions into a certain tax category. So if you use the same gas station, for example, for filling up your card that you use for business, you can create a rule that any transaction from that gas station is automatically categorized as fuel for your vehicle. So you can create all kinds of rules right in that section. The next section down is managing tags. So this allows you to tag transactions, maybe for a certain job or a certain client. Just an easy way to sort and look for transactions that perhaps belong to a certain client that you want to have a little bit more of visibility on. Receipt forwarding provides you the ability to forward emails from your inbox that have a receipt attached right to QuickBooks. So once you verify your email address, of course, again, this is a demo account. This would show your email address. Once you verify that, when you receive emails that come in with receipts for a purchase you've made online, for example, you can forward it right to the QuickBooks email address that will be provided for you, and it will attach that receipt to your QuickBooks file and scan it and try to categorize it appropriately for you. It saves you the step of printing it out and then scanning it back into QuickBooks. And then categories is a feature that, as you classify transactions as personal transactions versus business, this allows you to categorize them into different tax categories such as entertainment, utilities, etc. So that's the transaction section of settings. If we move over to taxes, these are some important settings here. Your tax profile you would definitely want to set up. This ensures that QuickBooks is reporting accurate deductions and sending accurate information to your accountant at the end of the year. So you're going to fill out your tax profile here. It's kind of like a W-2 essentially. You'll fill that out. And then this will be able to give you projections on what your profit is after it takes into account deductions and expenses and taxes. It'll be able to give you some projections moving forward more accurately on profit. So you're going to want to do the same thing for your vehicle, for mileage, and for your home office to calculate the deductions if you're using a space in your home as an office. And then finally for healthcare, to answer questions about the type of health insurance, if you're insured or not. Again, all of these come down to making sure that your taxes are being calculated right and that you're getting the biggest benefit that you can from your small business. So that's the settings section. Over to the right, we have the help section, which is just a great way to, if you're looking to figure out how to do something in your QuickBooks Self-Employed, it'll bring over this little drawer where you can ask a question to QuickBooks, and the automated search engine will hopefully help you out in that area. And then finally, over here we have the QuickBooks Assistant, and this is more of a virtual type of assistant in a chat type of a format. So if you're trying to figure out how to view your profit and loss, you can just type that in here, and the QuickBooks Assistant will bring up that information for you. So it's just a great way to also help you find some information if you're having some struggles. So that's the top bar, and that again started with this home screen dashboard, led into settings, help, and the assistant. So next, I'd love to dive into really what the day-to-day use of QuickBooks Self-Employed might look like for you in your business. Okay, so here we are in the transactions section, and this is one of the powerful features of QuickBooks Self-Employed. So what this section is all about is pulling in the imports from the connected accounts we talked about in settings. So your bank accounts, credit cards, point of sale. So all the data from those accounts gets input and is dropped right here in the transactions section. And here's where the power of QuickBooks Self-Employed really comes into play. So if we take a look at these transactions, the scenario we have in this demo account is where this entrepreneur is using a single account, a single personal account for both their personal and business expenses. So through this feed here, we see a couple things on each line. So the date that the transaction occurred, kind of who the transaction went to, and then what account that came from. So this one came from the checking account, whereas this one here was from the credit account, and then the amount of the transaction, whether positive or negative. So to the right of that is where we have the ability to specify whether that was a business transaction, personal transaction, or possibly split between them. So in this case, we're going to say this rent here was a personal transaction. So I can click on personal and classify that, and it categorize that into personal spending. This bill, though, we'll say was a business transaction. And now I have the ability to recategorize that if I want to. So maybe this was some type of a utility bill. So I can just search utilities, and there we go. We'll call that a utility bill, so that will show up in the right place. And basically all you need to do is come in here every day, once a week, whatever timeline works for you, and just go through and classify your transactions. We talked about the tags earlier that allow you to break it down even further. So let's say that this income, right, is from this customer named Tyler. So we're going to call this tag Tyler's Towing. So Tyler's Towing Company we're doing some work for. So if we add that tag, I can choose the color for that tag. We're going to call Tyler's Towing a red tag. Now I can save that, and you see it's tagged as red. And you know what? This business meeting also was actually with Tyler. So I can just go down here and categorize this also as Tyler's Towing and save it that way. So now I'm starting to break down these income and expenses even further and tracking which of these apply specifically to the consulting work I'm doing for Tyler's Towing. So you can see how easy it is to classify these transactions into business and personal. That quickly we have our transactions categorized. So live at the top here we have an update showing now our business profit based on those business transactions, how much business income we've had, how much business spending we have, and a little bar graph to show you the income on the top, expenses on the bottom, and then the little dot is showing us where our profit margin would be. And if you also notice, the estimated taxes are updating as we go along. So quick, easy way just from your finance partner's bank feed to update your transactions. So maybe you had a one-off transaction. You stopped at a pharmacy and picked up something for a client meeting. So you can add those into your transactions manually in two ways. One, you can just add a manual transaction by clicking this button. And if we choose the drop down, you see we have some other options for transactions. But in this case, we just want to add a manual transaction. So that brings me to this window here. And we'll say we just stopped at a CVS pharmacy. And we spent $10. I'm going to categorize this as we'll call it just an other essentials for right now. So materials and supplies for a meeting, and I can make a note if I wanted to, and also of course add tags. And you see we have the option right here to drag and drop a receipt in as well to keep them attached to the transaction in QuickBooks all along the way. So we'll save this transaction. And now it's right here at the top of our transaction list. So another way we can add transactions into our QuickBooks Self-Employed is using a receipt upload. So there's two ways to do this, from the desktop or from the mobile app. So from the mobile app, you're able to actually just snap a picture with your phone's camera of your receipt, and it will upload it into your transactions list. From the desktop, you're able to actually just upload either a picture or a PDF file of a receipt. This is great if you've made a purchase online and they email you the receipt. You can just either drag and drop or click browse. And here's a receipt I just received from GoDaddy. That's great. So we'll choose to upload that receipt into our QuickBooks Self-Employed. Yep, that looks right. So that is the transaction section, which is really just the core of QuickBooks Self-Employed. And now we're going to take a look at some of the other sections and how they can benefit you as well. Next on the list is the mileage tab. So just like most things in QuickBooks, there's several ways to accomplish this. The easiest is to use the companion mobile app, which uses the GPS on your phone to track your mileage automatically whenever you're moving. And then at the end of your trip, you're able to swipe to classify those miles as either business miles or personal miles. And you can also add a tag, again, to link them back to a specific job or client that you're working with. So in this case, we see that here's some mileage that we've already tracked. It's been classified as business mileage already. If we made a mistake and this mileage was actually personal, I can go and switch that right there, and now it's classified as personal miles. At the top, it's showing us that we've driven 433 business miles this year, which gives us a deduction of $229, using over here at the right the IRS approved mileage rate of 0.575 cents per mile. So we can also add trips and mileage manually by using the Add Trip button over here on the right, which brings up this form where we just add in either our starting and ending address or just simply the miles that we've driven. And as the theme continues in all QuickBooks versions, the little drop-down arrow to the right of a button gives you additional options that pertain to the page that you're on. So in this case, we could edit the vehicle that we're using, and we can also import mileage from other apps like MileIQ or from Google Trips. So that's the mileage section, a great way to keep track of all your business miles to make sure you're getting all the deductions that you're eligible for. The next section down is the tax section. This helps you just estimate your annual and quarterly taxes. Of course, it does not take the place of an accountant doing your taxes for you, but it gives you a quick overview of where you're standing right now. So in this demo account right now, we're showing $63,000 as taxable profit from this business. That was calculated based on $76,000 in income and $12,000 in deductions. Below that, it breaks down where those deductions are coming from: business, vehicle, and home expenses. And then we can actually look a little bit deeper to see a better breakdown by category of where those deductions are coming from. You'll also see that QuickBooks flagged us that there's a transaction that they think might include a deduction that we should review. So if we click on that transaction, we can take a look. The issue here is that it's not categorized, so it doesn't know if it's a deduction or not. So if we went in and categorized what this type of transaction was, let's say that it was for some equipment that we bought from Joanna here. Right, so now that that's categorized, it would put it into the proper tax deduction area. So that continues for all the categories. And then the same thing is true for quarterly taxes, to estimate your quarterly taxes that are due. And we have the ability to pay them right through QuickBooks Self-Employed. One final thing to point out, back on the annual tax section, we have the ability to email all of this information right over to our accountant, so they get all the information they need to speed up the tax preparation, hopefully saving a little bit of money on that end, because they won't be spending as much time as they may have in the past pulling together all of your receipts and data that they need to make sure you're getting an accurate tax return completed. The next section down is reports. You might spend a little bit of time in here. You can see there's a whole list of reports available for you, including the detailed mileage log from the mileage section, profit and loss reports, a list of all the receipts that you've imported. We talked about tags before, so if I wanted to take a look at all of the tags that I had broken down, at this point I only created one for Tyler's Towing, but I could have a nice clean report by client if I wanted to break down my clients with tags. So I can see for Tyler's Towing so far this year, I've had $1,455 in income and only $11 in expenses, which leads me to a net income just from work I've done with Tyler for $1,444. So reports are fairly simple. You can choose the time period. If we want to look at our year-to-date profit and loss statement, our income statement, we can do that right here. A great breakdown of our business income, all of our expenses, where they went to, and then our net income. So that's the report section with a bunch of basics reports available for you. The invoices section. So this is where we would send our customers invoices. It's pretty flexible. It allows us to break things down with both product or parts costs and labor costs, format our invoices the way we want. So here we are on the Add Invoice screen. Over on the right drawer there, we see the ability to customize our invoices. So what kind of things do we want to show? In this case, these switches are turned on to allow us to show the invoice number, date, and a due date. The next caret down allows us to choose how we want to collect payment. Can this payment be paid by credit card or by bank transfer? If you activate QuickBooks Payments, you're able to accept both of these types. There is a small charge for credit cards, of course, but I believe payments through bank transfers are actually free through QuickBooks. This next caret lets you design the invoice to make it look kind of the way that you want. You can upload your business's logo here, and then you can kind of change the colors and the font to make it look exactly the way that you want. The next section down for email is where you specify the body of the email that will go to your customer along with the invoice. And then the next section shows you kind of what the PDF of that invoice is going to look like and allows you to add a payment link so they can click and pay you securely right through that email. So let's jump back here to the invoice details, and let's send an invoice to our new customer, test customer. So this shows us they're not in our customer list already. It's prompting me to add them as a new customer. So I can click that right there and add them as a customer. And I'm going to fill in some information so we can email them the invoice right to their inbox. We can add a billing address if we want to. And it makes our invoices look a little bit more professional. And then there's a show more option where we can add a company name. So this kind of becomes our database as well for our clients. It knows that that's not a valid email address. There we go. So we'll save that customer. Now it fills them in our bill to section. So our invoice date's today. So it automatically calculated a net 30 days terms, which is great. So now I'm going to add the things that I want to invoice them for. So whether it's a product or a service. In this case, I'm going to invoice them for some consulting hours. I'm going to charge by the hour. We'll say the rate for this job is $100 an hour. And we spent 6 hours on this job. I'll add a quick description here. So that 6 hours was billed for consulting. I could add more parts or labor if I wanted to. And this is the ways that we have selected for them to pay. So I could take a quick preview of what this invoice is going to look like for them. So it looks great to me. Right, it's built to our test customer. It's due on the 13th, so 6 hours of consulting for $600. It's due on January 13th. So my option is to send this. I can email this directly to them, so they'll have a link they can pay right in that email. If I wanted to, I could just save it for later, or I have the ability to print out this invoice and just mail it to them or hand it to them. So here's our print view of that invoice. So that's great. So let's just save this invoice. That invoice is saved. So we're just going to go back to our home screen here. So now in our invoices view, we see we have a list of all of our active invoices. It shows us when they're due, who they're for. So everything's really easy to see right here. And then when we receive payment, we can actually just choose this drop down right here, and we can mark this invoice is paid, and now we have a record of that invoice being paid. And we can edit right from here. We can send reminders, and we can send a payment receipt to them, all right from here. So that's the invoices section. Pretty powerful and professional way to bill your clients and customers. The next one down I mentioned is a beta that's being tested right now in the winter of 2020, and this is time tracking. So what's great from time tracking is it really lets you get a better handle on how much time you're spending either per job or per client, and make sure you're billing for all the time that you're owed. So time tracking works pretty easily, just like everything else. I can choose the drop down and choose an existing customer, or I can add a new client if I wanted to. So we're going to go back to test customer. And then based on that customer, I can have a list of projects. So in this case, we're going to have our test project with test customer. Our hourly rate for this project is we're charging $150 per hour for this project. And we can add a description to the project if we want. So now we're just going to choose either start and end times, or I can uncheck this box and just choose hours. So there's my test customer, test project, and I can essentially clock in on that job, and it will keep track of the time that I spent on that job. So what's great is at the end, when we clock out of that job, I can see that the value of the time I've spent on this customer so far is 29 cents. And actually right from this screen, I can even issue them an invoice for that time right from here and save me some work. So a great additional feature of QuickBooks Self-Employed. So there we are, a quick overview of all the features and how a lot of them work for QuickBooks Self-Employed. As I mentioned earlier, down in the description box below, there's a link for you to try QuickBooks Self-Employed at a special discounted rate for the first 3 months. I'm also going to put a link down for this demo shop for QuickBooks Self-Employed that I'm working in right now, so that you can try it out that way as well. So that about wraps up our tour of QuickBooks Self-Employed and what it can do to benefit you as a sole proprietor or freelancer. Be sure to subscribe if you want to learn more about how you can use QuickBooks Online in your business and more about business financial reporting. Coming up in this series will be a similar tour and walkthrough of the full small business side of QuickBooks Online with more robust bookkeeping features and reporting. Thank you so much again for checking out our channel. And remember, always keep an eye on the bottom line.